This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Checking off the boxes on your to-do list is a great feeling. And when it comes to checking off coverage, a State Farm agent can help you choose an option that's right for you. Whether you prefer talking in person, on the phone, or using the award-winning app, it's nice knowing you have help finding coverage that best fits your needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
When kids don't play, they grow up without imagination. Then it's all small talk and awkward weather chats. Good thing Gushers, Fruit by the Foot, and Fruit Roll-Ups are made to be played with. You better be playing.
If we know she's dead, we have to have sympathy for her because she's a young woman whose life was cut short. I like her more. Being like, oh no, why is she dead?
This film really makes you think. It's very different than a Hollywood film.
Welcome to episode 208 of Film Generations, where two guys from the 20th century select a classic movie to show a panel of young film lovers and see if it still plays for today's generation. I'm Mark Netter. I'm an instructor at the Los Angeles Film School. I'm co-founder and CEO of Electrocast Media and the sometime filmmaker.
I'm David Taussig, and I am old enough for Medicare.
Hi, I'm Kali LaRue, and I'm an aspiring film journalist and film critic.
Hi, I'm Guy Lewis. I'm a film school graduate, and I love movies.
For this episode, we watched a mid-career movie from pioneering French New Wave writer-director Agnès Varda, her award-winning Vagabond from 1985. The film begins on a French vineyard in winter where the dead body of a young woman soaked in red wine is found in a ditch. In voiceover, the director announces her quest to find out how this woman, who we'll come to know as Mona, ended up this way. What ensues is the story of an aimless drifter who rejects society in her drive for freedom, punctuated by documentary-style interviews with various people she meets over the final 3 weeks of her life, all of whom express their own points of view about Mona's life choices. So, let's wander over to our panel and find out what they thought about Vagabond. Now, David and I are the only two who had seen this movie before, correct?
That's correct.
So, Kylie, would love to know your initial impression when you watched the movie and how you feel a day or two later.
Well, when I first started it, I was honestly a little nervous. I kind of thought maybe it would be a little pretentious. Is it going to be above me? Are they going to throw up some philosophy on me about this? And I'm happy that I was totally wrong about it. And the more I watched it, the more I felt it was such an honest, kind, yet brutal movie. It's a movie of paradoxes over and over. But I loved it. I left with a feeling like, oh my gosh, okay, well, I'm glad that's over, but I just feel terrible, and I can't wait to talk about it and share in this terrible feeling with other people because I felt lonely. I was watching it by myself, and I just wanted to talk to you guys about it.
What were some of the paradoxes that you spoke about, if you can touch on those?
She wants freedom, and it's like freedom and filth, what I think freedom is and what the price of freedom is. You need a society, yet it'll chew you up and spit you out, but you want to go back to it because you're supposed to. Paradox is the best way I can describe it. But I think in the same time, it made me even more confused about what is up and what is down and where does the gray area actually lie.
Maybe we'll figure it out over the course of this conversation. Guy, how about you? What was your reaction when you saw it, and did that change since you've seen it?
I couldn't get it on my PlayStation because I couldn't get the Criterion app on my PlayStation. So I was mad. So I was like, okay, so now I got to watch this movie on my laptop. And I was like, wait a minute. I got to figure out how to watch this on a bigger screen because I started noticing how the frames look like paintings, old paintings and stuff. It was really beautiful. So I finally figured out how to get it on the big TV. And then I had to end up buying a year of the Criterion channel. So thanks for that.
You're going to thank us. I swear to God.
I was blown away over how every minute or two, if you hit pause, it's like you're looking at a French painting.
I thought the exact same thing. Really had that painterly feel.
The scenes to me really felt like they could be in any order, you know? And so I'm watching a French movie about a homeless French person, and all I can think about is, what does that person smell? You know what I'm saying? Mona was cute, but then she doesn't live inside, so she is repulsive, sort of. You know what I'm saying? But then am I an asshole? Because there's homeless people right outside where I live. I can walk 2 blocks and see 15 homeless people.
A number of times people talk about her needing a bath and stinking. And there's a few times in the movie where we see a woman either taking a shower or in a bath, and for a moment you think it's her. But it isn't. It's always some other more societal person.
Kylie mentioned kind and brutal. There's something about Agnès Varda in all her films where she just loves people, and it shows. She really avoids stereotypes. Everyone has a lot of dignity in their own fashion. But at the same time, the film is brutal. I mean, you are kind of glad when it's over because it's tough. It's tough going.
What was it that made you want to pick this along with me? I know we wanted to have a female filmmaker represented, and sometimes it's tough when you go back to the 20th century to find those films. But aside from that, what made you interested in Vagabond as a choice for us?
I'm always thinking about my favorite directors when I think about films, and I've always loved Agnès Varda. She really is one of a kind. She comes out of a tradition of Jean Renoir and the Italian neorealists, but she was the pacemaker for the French New Wave. Her first film is considered to be the first French New Wave film ever made. When I start watching her films, I always think, I'm not sure if I'm going to enjoy this. I know it's going to be a low budget, and I know it's not going to have a strong narrative, although some of them do. But it doesn't matter. She catches me every time with her character studies of people way outside the mainstream. That's become like a whole genre. But I think when this film came out, that wasn't much of a genre. You had films about, crazy guys in the 70s, but you never had films about crazy women, or even women that were just really doing something very, very different. It was really rare. So I just think this film's special. It really needed to be done.
There's some unusual way she tells the story, and I'm wondering if that made an impression on anyone.
Yeah, in some parts it reminded me of Sergio Leone's spaghetti westerns, kind of. Going back to what David was saying about the crazy guys. And I think if this was a male vagrant who was running around doing crazy things, people might have made him more of a caricature. And I feel like for her, people just kind of either pitied her or they wanted to use her. And she was always a part of somebody else's story, harmless and gross. Where instead of like the good, the bad, and the ugly, they're all could be heroes, they could be killers, they could be bank robbers because they had no way to go, nowhere to go.
It's so interesting. I've never heard anyone say that about this film before, but it rings really true. I do know that Agnès Varda was interested in the rise of the female vagrant, which really was something fairly new in the 80s. Before that, especially you go back to the Depression, it's only men who were traveling on rails more than women. Guy, what do you think about these semi-documentary interviews with characters that Mona had run across?
I didn't like those at first. At the very beginning, I kind of felt like, it's a gimmick. I've seen it in other movies that don't do it as well as I think that it worked in this movie, even though I didn't like it at the beginning. But I've seen other people do it way worse. Mona and the maid of
Yolanda.
Yeah. So her confessional made me understand their dynamic because it seemed like Yolanda should have been more of a friend to Mona, even though Mona has not been receptive to that kind of affection and that kind of love. And I love that we never get an answer as to why.
Okay, this is such a core question of the movie. This is the thing that blew me away when I saw the film. Unlike I would expect any Hollywood movie, I found it very hard to sympathize for Mona, that every time I felt like she got a chance to break out of her situation, she would take advantage and just blow it. Somebody offers her a cigarette, she takes 3, right? She goes with the goat people, the couple that are raising goats, and says, I'd like to raise potatoes. He goes, okay, here's your chance. And then she just, So Kylie, you're reacting to this. I really want to know, what do you think the director is saying as far as the judgment of Mona? Was there any way that you thought Mona was redeemable as a character?
Oh, I mean, the potato family is what really got me because they were so nice. But that's where I almost understand her because the guy was really trying to give her advice, the father, but she wasn't really asking for it. Those confessionals were expositions to tell you these people, they've seen her in her struggles, and some of them don't talk about her super fondly, but they know who she is. And they're like, well, this is her, and she might have pissed me off, and we offered her land so she can do her dream, and then we gave it to her, and then she hated it and stole our cheese. But they see her for who she is, whether it's good or bad. She's still a very complicated person, but she does drive me crazy because people try to help her.
That's what I want to know. For you two guys in particular, what are you rooting for Mona during the movie? And then how do you feel about her?
I would absolutely hate to come across someone like Mona.
She's a user. She would use you.
I think she almost doesn't even care enough about you to use you for that
yeah.
long. The second you give her too much, she'll be like, okay, whatever,
Yeah.
wow, bye, you're lame.
Yeah, it doesn't.
And
Yeah,
go.
it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to tell the whole thing, but there's like a lot of things
spoil it.
that, you know.
1985.
Yeah, it's 85. You should have seen it by now. Anyway, there's a scene where she's with another vagabond, right? And then she goes, "Hey, can I get a ride?" To this guy at the gas station, and the guy goes, "Yeah, if it's just you." And she turns to the guy that she's with, like, "All right, dude, see you later, bro."
Bye.
You know?
The guy that she shacked up with early on, and she smoked all of his 2 months worth of weed in 4 days.
Oh yeah, that's
Right. And when it's gone, she just leaves.
David, how do you feel about Mona? Like, do you feel differently about her than you did in 1985?
I don't remember, but I know one thing. She's incredibly attractive and incredibly repulsive at the same time. And she finds ways to do that over and over again in different ways. I think the first time you see her, it's in a very long shot. She's coming naked out of the ocean.
17 and a half years old at the time that she made the movie.
She's beautiful, although at the same time, there's something about her that's scary. It's not just sexually, though. It's in a lot of ways. It's like you want to help her, and then you realize that helping her is going to be a horrible experience, so you don't want to help her. And then you're kind of rooting for her, and then you're kind of hoping she gets what she deserves at certain points. Mm-hmm. Like a spoiled child, you kind of want her to get some kind of comeuppance. Mm-hmm. And
No, she is
she's
a brat. Yeah.
And you know she's going to end up dead because you're told that at the very beginning of the film.
yeah.
So there's that too. You know this is not going to end well.
How did it inform your viewing that you know she's dead at the beginning? Do you think it's better to know she's dead, or would it be better to wait till the end to find out?
I think if we know she's dead, we have to have a sort of sympathy for her because she's a young woman whose life was cut short, and you don't know why this young woman, what happened to her demise. So I think I like her more, being like, oh no, why is she dead? She's so young.
I think also it focuses you on, I think, what Varda probably wants you to think about. I mean, this film really makes you think. You know, it's very different than a Hollywood film. A Hollywood film generally doesn't want you to think too much. It wants you to feel and experience, but not to think. And this is quite the opposite. You don't know how to feel. And so I think you spend a lot of time thinking about what it means. If you were wondering what's going to happen to her, you'd be thinking about that too much. And instead, you really focused on, you know, what's going on? Who is she really? Why is she this way? You don't get answers.
That's really interesting.
You know, we've all, of course, had fantasies about having no responsibilities and la-da-da, just living for ourselves, living day to day. It's a fantasy that probably most of us don't actually want to put into practice. But I feel like, as far as the filmmaker goes, Agnès Varda is, I feel like she's got to have some of the same feelings that her character has. She doesn't want to give you answers. She doesn't want to be pinned down. She doesn't want to have to make you feel good. She's not out to make you feel bad. You know, she's not out to judge exactly. She's really trying to avoid all that. She's kind of trying to avoid all the things you're supposed to do as a filmmaker. As a filmmaker, you're supposed to, you know, express opinions and push people in a certain direction, have a strong point of view, create, you know, certain emotions in the audience. And Agnès Varda seems to not want to do any of those things. And that's what makes the film so good. Maybe it was part of her attraction to the character, who also doesn't want to participate in any way in any of the things that a person is supposed to do in society.
Well,
doesn't want to make friends. You know, doesn't want to be a part of anything.
Does anybody else feel like the film makes you think about your own choices?
So the whole time you're asking yourself, how did she get to this point without ever understanding the answer? There's a vast majority of Americans, or at least people in LA, that can't miss a paycheck or else they're homeless. Yeah. You miss one paycheck and that's it. That's a wrap. So anyone could be in that situation. And I guess I'm feeling a little bit more empathy towards her with that knowledge in my brain.
I work with an organization called Imagine LA that works to get homeless families off the street. And one thing that the social workers there taught me and said to me many times was that people don't end up homeless because they run out of money. They end up homeless because they run out of friends and family. run out of social connections. Of course, some people might end up living in their car or something because they lose a job. But, somebody like that is very likely to end up back in a home pretty quickly.
Right, but we know that she's been a secretary in the past. She hated the bosses. She quit that job and she decided she wanted to go camping, as she calls it. She did make a choice to be out there in some way. She claims that she doesn't have any family at one point. I don't know if it's true or not. Who knows? She came from an abusive household or whatever. I do think the film kind of asks us the question about freedom, like what's the cost of freedom and are you really free? How can you really be free?
I think of like the nihilism, Simone de Beauvoir, and those kind of women who were in the culture in France at that time. And I think it's very interesting in a way that she chose to totally reject society because it kind of makes sense with that nihilism point of view. But also, we don't really get to see any of her philosophies. We don't actually get to see the book she's reading because the potato farmer guy was saying how she's read too much trash, but he was a philosophy major, got his master's, he's super educated. She's educated. And it's like, so she did all these things. She got a job, she got her education, she had a place to be, food to eat. And then she was like, no, I'm going to reject everything and be on my own. And in a way, it's like, I guess you can say it's like feminist slightly to be on your own, but also just mostly individualistic. She's rejecting everything, men, women, all that kind of stuff. And I think it's a really weird way this movie fits into the feminist culture.
I came across the New York Times article that said that Agnes actually met a character that she based Mona off of while she was scouting locations. She had a story in her mind. She went out to scout locations, and then she came across the Tunisian, Moroccan workers. And then so she started to flesh characters out that way. And at this time, the lead of her story wasn't male or female. And then she actually met a little girl that lived that life.
Satina. Yeah.
Yeah, she's even in the movie a little bit. She's in this scene where they're in the train station.
But one of the things I think is fascinating about this movie is how run down so many of the spaces are, especially the ones where she ends up crashing. She'll find an abandoned farmhouse, or some guys are working on a vineyard, and even the main building there is just got peeling paint, right? I mean, doesn't that affect the feeling of where she's at, or is it maybe a period thing?
I feel like France has lived so many lives where it's like, was this a house that has not been lived in since the plague? Has this not been lived in since the French Revolution 1 or 2? Like, are these lords who were taken out because they liked like Louis XIV? I was like, I think of France and I'm like, wait, this place is so old, has so many families and histories. How many other people have just been uprooted from their lives in the history of France, and they just left their building and who knows what happened to them, just like her.
And I wonder if you went back today to those same locations, if they'd all have been bought up and cleaned up and people had invested.
Chip and Joanna Gaines put shiplap everywhere and made it farmhouse chic.
You can still buy a pretty nice place in the French countryside for $100,000.
Well, if the election goes the wrong way. So one of the other things that's really striking about... Another thing that I think is striking about her filmmaking are the lateral tracking shots.
Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh.
Now, I read there's 13.
Yeah.
They always track right to left. And sometimes it starts with her, sometimes it picks her up. But what's also fascinating is that often the camera leaves her at the end of the shots, goes to an object. And if you watch really closely, whatever she cuts to matches something that's in the shot she's leaving. So there's one shot that ends with a tire, and then it cuts to Mona standing in front of a bunch of tires.
It's to lend some structure, maybe, because it seems like every sequence begins with one of those shots.
Every 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, is that true?
Yeah, I watched a video that she did on a location, literally sitting on a dolly to do tracking shots.
Why the tracking shots, and why the way she structures them so she's ending on objects other than Mona? Like, what do you guys get out of that?
All of Varda's films are a lot about the place, in addition to being about the people. I mean, The Gleaners and I, and her first film, they're about places, and the shot is supposed to be centered around this character, but the character exists in a place. So it kind of goes by her and shows you some of the more of the context.
They just really put on a clinic on camera and storytelling through motion. This movie is badass. I mean, I always say every movie that we review is badass. Okay, so like, just take all the other ones off. Those weren't badass. This one's badass.
Why is this more badass?
Because of the turnaround. That's what it is. I immediately did not like this movie within the first 5 minutes. And it took about 20 minutes to get me into it. And then I had to rewatch. I was like, okay, this is mad disrespectful. Start over.
You know, one of the things that struck me when I saw it was the evolution of her costume. Her costume was as important as Superman's costume or Batman's costume. And she's basically wearing like jeans and like maybe a jeans jacket or something, but she has those boots.
Yeah.
And the thing that kills you is the first time the zipper doesn't work on the boot. Yeah. Kylie, you're feeling it?
I mean, I'm a girl. I wear a lot of shoes. And when they start to break down, it is like I have a meltdown every time. For real. Like, that was anxiety inducing. Because I know, like, the duct tape. And I know how bad it is when, like, it's your favorite pair of shoes you wear all the time. And, like, the bottom comes off. And you're just like, I can't even afford a new pair of shoes. But then you're like, oh my God, these are my favorite. Like, that part, like, made me, like, sick to my stomach when I saw it not zip up. I was like, oh, it's terrible.
By the end of the movie,
It's like,
she's
the
in the
worst.
Costumer, by the way. Sorry, the costumer is Agnes's daughter, Rosalie Varda.
Oh, wow. Because by the end, the guy who wants to pimp her and is saying you could be in porn. I mean, you talk about no judgment. I think Agnès Varda says that guy's an asshole. So the last 20 minutes of it is just like a regular movie. Things start spiraling, but downward.
I don't think Agnès Varda says he's an asshole. I think he is. She wrote a character who's an asshole.
The French are known for existential philosophy, and I'm sure Agnès Varda had grown up during that era and knew all about that. So there's something existential about Mona, right? There's no real drive or anything. And I think by moving the camera off of her and ending on the objects, it kind of talks about how, you know, we're all transient, but nature's going to go on. That building's still going to be there after I'm in a grave. There's something extra pitiless about that technique, and it kind of reminds you of your mortality. And I'm probably terrible at existential philosophy, but kind of like being in the moment, in the present, and, you know, but when you take the long view, Mona's just going to be here like that, you know, just like all of us. We'll be right back with more on Vagabond.
Una silla de masajes puede parecer extravagante. 8 configuraciones diferentes, intensidad ajustable, además es calefaccionado. Y se siente tan bien. Sí, una silla de masajes puede parecer extravagante. Y 2, bueno, aún más. Pero cuando esas sillas de masajes vienen con un auto, se vuelven bastante prácticas. El nuevo Volkswagen Tiguan 2025 con funciones premium como los asientos delanteros con masaje disponibles. Solo parece extravagante.
On top of building this fake volcano for months, I give my daughter Smarty Pants vitamins to support her brain health. So her science fair project sounds more like and less like. And while I may say it's not a competition, of course it's a f***ing competition. Choose Smarty Pants vitamins to support your kids' brain health and save the science fair. Shop on Amazon, smartypantsvitamins.com, or at Target today.
Okay. Favorite other than Mona? Any people that she met along the way that you actually felt for, liked, or at least were amused by?
I think for me there was 2. There was the prostitute who bought her cheese, because she's obviously someone who also is doing whatever she can for money. And she's like, this poor stinky girl. Like, you're not going to eat the cheese? Okay, I'll buy it off you, I guess. Like, oh, you poor girl. And then she's like, I'm so sorry. You are scaring away my customers. I'm so sorry. Please go. Like, she's apologizing to this girl for being so disgusting. And she's on the side of the road. And she's like, buy your stinky cheese and go away because you're so stinky. But then puts the stinky cheese, like, in her purse. I'm like, okay, that was hilarious. And then it was the old grandma who was getting drunk off the cognac and making fun of her nephew a certain way.
Mona has a great time with the grandma, too. I mean, that's the most fun Mona has in the whole film, is hanging out with the grandma who has nothing, just kind of like Mona, and the two of them have a great time together.
Mona's the only person who actually shows grandma a good time. And it was such a good reversal, and I was laughing, and I do love the lady, although I'm terrified about what's going to happen, you know, that they're going to get drunk, and then also Mona's laughing, which shows her horrible yellow teeth, even worse.
But then the guy comes out of Mona's tent, and then he talks shit about her. But I don't know if he was saying that he had sex with her, or that she told him that they couldn't have sex.
For me, it set like the unreliable narrators of those confessionals to where like they might just say like, oh, you know, she's just a useless person in my story. Now that she's dead, I'm going to go ahead and say who I think she should be in my story, and like try and like kind of twinge the truth a little bit to make themselves feel better.
Said earlier,
and make her look worse.
The initial narrator said that she talked to the people without telling them that she died, which I thought was a pretty cool way to say that this is how people talk about people without feeling bad about people being dead.
I think that they think she's like less than a human. And they can say whatever they want about her.
But if she died, then...
So, like, he's just like...
but if they knew she was dead, then they would be like, well, you're not supposed to say bad things about dead people.
And at one point, the professor, goat farmer, says her very actions help to prop up the society that she's rejecting.
Yeah, he actually says by proving she's useless, she's helping a system that she's rejecting.
He also says that his friends who rejected society and did not get their shit together died. Which also foreshadows, it kind of reminds you how the movie's going to end in the middle of the movie. You're like, oh shit, that's right. She's not going to make it out. David, you have any characters you liked?
I really like the professor that helps her. She's really a great person, right? She's trying to keep the trees from dying. I think this whole bit about how the trees are all dying, the plane trees, which are, the most distinguished feature of that area, they're all dying. It sort of says something there.
Because of what the U.S. brought over in World War II.
I was going to bring that up later.
Right. The American GIs inadvertently brought a disease that's killing all their trees. I mean, she does everything she can to be nice to Mona and never stops until finally she just gets exhausted by, the bottomless pit of Mona, who just, no matter how nice you are to her, you just don't get anything in return, really.
She even puts up with her smell, which she talks about how bad she smells.
Right.
Yeah, but then she almost died, right? And she's like, oh, we need to help Mona.
I was like, what is she doing?
That's going to crush your heart, you know what I'm saying? So your ass should go to the hospital right after that. And that didn't happen. She confronted death. And then she immediately starts thinking about this girl that she kicked out of her home. Like, she's afraid that she may be punished for her actions.
I mean, I generally agree with David because I did like the professor character, but part of me wondered whether or not there's a critique of the professor as treating Mona as exotic or just something that she hangs with for a day for her own edification. Although she does tell the student to go find her later, after she has the life-threatening incident. So I don't know that the teacher gets away.
I feel like the movie's a
totally
Rorschach
clean.
test, though. Like, anything you see in it, you just have to admit that you're projecting it on it. I mean, I just think the film refuses to tell you how to feel or what to think.
Gives you a lot of options. I'm going to make a case for who I think is the nicest character in the movie, is the Tunisian worker. I think his name's Hassan. So while they're away visiting their families, she shows up at the vineyard. He takes her in. He lets her do some work. I kept thinking that she was going to give up on the work, and at one point you see her lounging around, but she kind of seems to be working out there. And then the guys, all the Moroccan guys, come back and say, we can't have you here, and kicks her out. And she gets very upset. She blames the Tunisian guy, even though I think we are sympathetic to him. We think it's not his fault. She takes off the red scarf that I think he had given her, and she throws it down. And when they do his interview later, he doesn't speak. He just holds up the scarf, and I think what I read was that he kisses it. I thought he was like smelling it.
Oh, I also thought he was smelling it. I thought it was really weird, like sniffing, like, because some guys like just thought that was gross. But now they say it's kissing it. I'm like, okay, that's sweet. So it really weirded me out in like a weird way. But I was like, I'm gonna pretend this is really nice. Maybe the French think this is cool.
Sometimes when somebody when a husband and wife dies, like, it's not uncommon for the spouse to want to smell their clothing because there still is the scent of them, and that
Yeah, like, I thought he was smelling it, but not in a creepy way. I thought he missed her, and that's all he had left was her odor and the scarf.
I think I just have.
And she had gotten clean there.
I think I've just seen way too many weird things about smelling things. Like, I think it's like media polluting my mind. I was like, oh. Like, I think maybe this is probably really nice. Like, he seems nice. This is so weird.
Like, if you saw J.D. Vance smelling a couch,
I'd be like, oh, gotta turn this off.
All right, guys. Last question. How long do you think you would last out there if you were doing the Mona trip?
What do you mean by last?
2 weeks.
You saying, like, how long will I make it before I end up in the ditch dead? Or how long do I make it before I quit? Two different
questions. Sure, I'll take both those.
I think I quit pretty early. If we were talking about a 20-year-old guy, I don't know, I could probably be out there as long as she did, but like me right now, 2 weeks max.
I mean, I'd be done after 2 days if I had a choice. But let's say I had no choice and couldn't just quit. I wouldn't do anything the way she did it. I'd be making friends with everybody. If he said, you can grow potatoes here, I'd say, great. I'd be waking up in the morning, hoeing that field, anything to get back into an indoor space.
And to avoid the crazy people dressed as monsters running around.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons why I'm still really sympathetic to Mona, because if that hadn't happened, she wouldn't have fell in the ditch and she would have been able to plod along further.
I mean, that was weird, right? This weird wine festival.
Really
it's
weird.
Scary.
People
But
are
on the other hand, if
running
you're not
into
Mona,
doors.
if you're a regular person and you're seeing this go on, it's like nothing. It's like, oh, these people they're doing their weird wine festival. But if you're on the verge of death and you're as vulnerable as she is, it becomes, the death of you.
Everyone else was going to shelter. She just had nowhere to go, except for right into the middle of it.
Kylie, what can you tell us about the making of the movie that we might not have covered so far tonight?
She wanted it to be a little bit of a jarring film, hence the right to left. But that she also said how she kind of wanted to make it very ambiguous because she wanted to let everybody else kind of interpret it on their own. The French New Wave, like that jump cut, I felt that it was a more graceful jump cut, the way she made it, but for the entire
Great
film.
observation. Guy, can you tell us anything about the reception?
Roger Ebert gave it 4 stars. Right. The New York Times says Agnès Varda has created a world too painfully real to ignore. That was pretty spot on.
And I do know that Sandrine Bonnaire won the César Award that year for Best Actress.
Agnes also got the Venice Golden Lion.
And the film was nominated for 3 other major Caesars: Best Film, Best Director, and Best Supporting Actress as well.
David, tell us about Agnès Varda.
She was born in Belgium in 1928 and moved to France, became a photographer. She was influenced by Surrealism, Franz Kafka, William Faulkner, and was not very interested in films. But one day she was visiting a little fishing village called La Pointe Courte, and she just got this idea to shoot a very low-budget film there based on Italian neorealism. She thought she would use some of the local people, even though they weren't professional actors. And the idea of that film is that there's this couple from Paris who are sophisticated Parisian types who are having marital troubles. And then meanwhile, you're seeing the people in the town living their daily lives. And this film was really influential. It was made in 1954, generally considered to be the first French New Wave film ever made. When it came out, it did not make any money. Even though it cost almost nothing. But it did catch the attention of the critics at a publication called Cahiers du Cinéma, which ended up being a very, very important film magazine. The main critic there was André Bazin, who loved the film. 2 other younger critics who were bowled over by the film were Jean-Luc Godard and François Truffaut. They were inspired later on to make their own films, Breathless, The 400 Blows. This first film of hers was also edited by Alain Resnais. And so this is really the germ of the French New Wave, which is one of the most important film movements of the 20th century. She made a film called Cléo from 5 to 7 in 1962, also kind of experimental, also a documentary feel, but with actors. And the conceit of that film is that you're seeing this character Cléo in real time from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock, which isn't exactly in real time because the film's only an hour and a half long, but it is kind of in real time. She made a film called Le Bonheur, which won the Silver Bear at the Berlin Film Festival. She made a film called Black Panthers in 1968 about the Black Panthers. A lot of her films are about marginalized people. In 1988, she made a film called Kung Fu Master. She was not very good at coming up with commercial titles. Kung Fu Master is not really about Kung Fu at all. It's about a 40-year-old housewife who develops a bit of a crush on a 14-year-old boy who's the schoolmate of her daughter. I think it'd be very interesting to talk about that film in relation to our next film, which Mark will announce at the end of today's podcast. But had the genders been the other way around, it probably would have been a very even more criticized film. She did a great film in 2000 called The Gleaners. I think everyone I know that sees this film falls in love with it. It's a documentary about people all over France who are simply recycling other people's trash, for their own consumption. And so they're living very meager lifestyles. And she conveys a lot of dignity to this idea of gleaning. In the last film I mentioned, Faces, Places, she made at the age of 89. It was nominated for Best Documentary for the Oscars, making her the oldest person to date to be nominated for a competitive Oscar. She didn't win, probably because that year she was also up for an honorary Oscar, becoming the 17th director and the first female director to receive an honorary Oscar.
Wow.
Very recognized, beloved filmmaker. Martin Scorsese has given her the highest praise. Edgar Wright is a huge fan. A lot of filmmakers are really big fans of hers. She died 5 years ago at the age of 90 and buried next to her husband, Jacques Demy, who's well known for having made several popular films in France, including The Umbrellas of Cherbourg. When I was there last month, I took a picture of their gravesite in Montmartre Cemetery, which I'm offering as a bonus to anyone who watches this on YouTube.
You sent it to me, which I really appreciated.
Yeah, she's really a favorite of mine. 4 feet 9 inches of absolute dynamo. And to me, holds the distinction of being the greatest female director to date in terms of her entire career. I mean, there are many great films that have been made by women, but her career stands out to me.
And she really changed the form, bringing that documentary feel in to fictional films in a way that is so interesting, and I think other people have taken from it over time.
Yes.
All right, we'll be right back with our panel's recommendations and ratings for Vagabond.
This episode is brought to you by Marshalls, where you never have to compromise between quality and price. The buyers at Marshalls hustle hard, working to bring you great deals on brand name and designer pieces. Because Marshalls believes everyone deserves access to the good stuff. Visit a Marshalls store near you or shop online at marshalls.com.
Eczema isn't always obvious, but it's real. And so is the relief from Ebglyss. After an initial dosing phase, about 4 in 10 people taking Ebglyss achieved itch relief and clear or almost clear skin at 16 weeks. And most of those people maintain skin that's still more clear at 1 year with monthly dosing.
Ebglyss, lebrikizumab LBKZ, a 250 milligram per 2 milliliter injection, is a prescription medicine used to treat adults and children 12 years of age and older who weigh at least 88 pounds or 40 kilograms with moderate to severe eczema, also called atopic dermatitis, that is not well controlled with prescription therapies used on the skin or topicals, or who cannot use topical therapies. Ebglyss can be used with or without topical corticosteroids. Don't use if you're allergic to Ebglyss. Allergic reactions can occur that can be severe. Eye problems can occur. Tell your doctor if you have new or worsening eye problems. You should not receive a live vaccine when treated with Ebglyss. Before starting Ebglyss, tell your doctor if you have a parasitic infection.
Searching for real relief? Ask your doctor about Ebglyss and visit ebglyss.lilly.com or call 1-800-LILY-RX or 1-800-545-5979.
4 stars is a top rating. It's an A+. That's not only great, but it's touched you personally, and you would put it in your top 50 films of all time. 3.5 stars is an A, great movie. A 3-star movie is an A-, usually a really interesting movie that might be slightly flawed, but is still cut above the B movies, which would be represented by the 2 and 2.5 star movies, either B- or B+, because there's no in-between with B movies. I'm going to start here with Guy and ask you, who would you recommend this movie to, and how do you rate it?
I recommend everybody who should watch any movie, good or bad. But this is a caveat. So if you can't get past subtitles, this one's not going to affect you at all. And if you can't do rewatches, I know I've only seen this movie once, but I just feel that there's so much that I have missed. I'm probably going to watch this movie again this week because it's really big. This is a great movie to pick apart. It's very interesting. So you can't do subtitles, miss this one. But if any of those are up your alley, then watch this one. You're gonna love it. It's gonna blow your head off. I give this a 3.5.
Kylie, what about you?
I would also give this 3.5 stars. I really enjoyed it, and I definitely would recommend it to anyone who maybe feels a little bit lost, because I think in a way, if you're kind of in a bad mindset, this can be a movie that can flip you the other way and really make you grateful for what you have, but also make you remember how important community is, how important family is. And I think they can really help you maybe find some footing or inspiration. And just remember that people have your back, and you should be really grateful that you have like people around you that can help you and are willing to help you.
Beautiful. David, your turn.
I'm also going to give it 3.5. As I started to watch it, I really thought maybe this will be a little boring, but I wasn't bored at all. Right from the beginning, there's this incredible music. I just got sucked in. I just got surprised all over again by how much is going on and how interesting it is. This film encourages you to look for yourself, to think for yourself, to rethink your assumptions about people. I felt really good after I saw the film, even though it's a sad story. So I'd recommend it to anybody that wants to have that kind of an experience.
So I would definitely recommend this to viewers who want some realism in their movies. But what I think is so striking about this is that it shouldn't work. Like, it should be boring. It should feel too slow. It should feel too much of a grind. But maybe for the reasons that, like Guy's talked about the filmmaking, and I think Kylie talks about the heart that's in there. There's something about it that makes it really, really interesting to watch. And you're very activated watching it. I had not remembered anything that happened in the movie when we chose it, because I haven't seen it for 40 years, except for the fact that I know that she would die at the end. I had even forgotten that she was dead at the beginning until I was reading up, getting ready to watch the movie again. But everything started coming back to me, how I felt in the theater, and the revelation of the new characters that she would run into. Each one was kind of like a different point of view, almost like Citizen Kane a little bit, the idea that different characters have different points of view about her along the way. And then the incredible photography, the performance, and she just doesn't glamorize Mona at all. And she does not make it easy for you to identify with Mona. There's no point in the movie where Agnès Varda is kind of saying that she's 100% victim. I mean, there is a scene where she gets raped, which I think is probably the closest to that. But she's made these choices, and she's basically saying to you, you want freedom? Okay, how about this freedom? What do you think? Can you handle it? Can you handle even watching it? And that is tough. When Guy says it's a badass movie, that's what's badass about it. It's the attitude towards the main character. In a Hollywood movie, there would be some scenes where she looked really glamorous and gorgeous. And even the scenes where Mona looks her best, which really is the beginning, coming out of the water, which is in a far shot, or occasionally when she's cleaned up, she still looks like a human. She still looks like a teenage girl. And maybe only a woman could have made this movie, and maybe only Agnès Varda could make a movie like this. So this is a 3.5-star movie, easily for me, because of that. So I really appreciate having the chance to discuss this movie with the three of you. It just gives me an even deeper perspective on Agnès Varda's accomplishment here on a low budget in a foreign language with subtitles.
I think that the trees dying because of American ideals is too on the nose.
The American influence, like killing French cinema?
Something saying about the price of freedom.
I've never known her to be anti-American. I mean, she is French.
Oh, wait.
Nonetheless, I've never known her to be anti-American. I mean, she lived in Los Angeles for quite a while, by the way, and made films here.
So if you want to watch Vagabond, it's available with a monthly or annual subscription to the Criterion channel. You can also do a free trial if you want to try to sneak it. You can find Film Generations on YouTube, where we do a video version with clips and stills, and also on audio wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. If you do like our show, please tell your friends, and please rate and review the show so others can find us as well. Film Generations is an Electrocast production, and I'd like to thank our panelists, Guy Lewis, Kylie LaRue, as well as our co-host and intrepid producer, David Tauzik. Executive producers are myself, Mark Netter, and Peter Rafelson, my partner at Electrocast. For our next episode, we take a big risk with a romantic comedy that was a huge commercial and critical success upon its release in 1979, coming on the heels of the writer-director's Oscar wins for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actress, and Best Original Screenplay with his previous movie. But this one, in hindsight, maybe feels a whole lot more controversial. In gorgeous black and white, it's Woody Allen's love letter to his city, Manhattan. Will our young panelists experience the same laughter and romance that audiences did 45 years ago, or have a more troubled viewing experience? Only one way to find out, here on Film Generations.
Electrocast.
Ever thought about starting your own podcast?
Do you have a business or a message you want to share with the world?
Well, now it's easier than ever with Electrocast. Hi, I'm Mark Netter.
And I'm Peter Rafelson. We're the founders of Electrocast Media.
Whether you want to start a new podcast or already have one, join Electrocast to grow your audience, monetize your content, and build your community.
With our simple sign-up, you get free promotion, world-class analytics, premium ads, and personal support.
Go to electrocast.com and join our community today.
Electricast. Transform your influence.
Electricast.
You deserve better healthcare, and so do we all. Medicine in America is a podcast that shares real stories of patients and doctors reshaping the future, because the revolution in care isn't coming, it's already here. Real stories, real change, a better future for healthcare.
Electricast.